The morning in the suburban city house sounded like a battleground of electronic alarms. Beeps, chirps, and digital chimes rang from every corner. Toby sat at the kitchen counter, frantically tapping his phone screen while trying to eat breakfast with his other hand. He had set 3 digital timers on his watch, one for his study goal, one for his online game daily rewards, and one for the morning school bus. David rushing into the kitchen with a coffee cup in one hand and his phone pressed to his ear.
Yes, Sarah, push the delivery to 9:15 a.m. No, we can't wait until 9:30. Every second costs us money. Toby, finish your cereal. We're 3 minutes behind schedule.
Dad, I'm trying. I skipped reading the last chapter of my history assignment. I finished on time, but my app says I'm still behind.
Then move faster! Life doesn't wait for anyone, Toby. If you aren't 5 minutes ahead, you're 50 minutes behind.
Toby felt a familiar tight knot in his chest. His days felt like a continuous sprint where the finish line kept moving further away. No matter how many shortcuts he took, he always felt out of time. That evening, unexpected news arrived. David's company had assigned him to oversee a major port logistics overhaul in the coastal town of Oak Haven. Since Toby was on a 2-week school break, David decided to bring him along, leaving Toby at Grandpa Samuel's shop near the docks while David worked long shifts at the shipping terminal. When David dropped Toby off at Grandpa Samuel's workshop near the misty edge of Oak Haven Harbor, it felt like stepping into another dimension.
Grandpa!
Welcome, Toby. Put down your burden, young man.
But how do you stay in here without going crazy? Everything moves so slowly. Don't you have a digital clock that auto-syncs?
A digital clock rushes from 10:01 to 10:02 without showing you the work it takes to get there. Digital clocks tell you the time, Toby, but mechanical clocks teach you the value of it.
David burst through the front door, his phone vibrating loudly in his coat pocket. Samuel watched his son leave with a tinge of sadness in his eyes.
Dad, I dropped Toby off. I have 16 meetings lined up today. Toby, stay out of your grandfather's way. Don't touch the expensive tools. I'll pick you up at precisely 7 p.m.
David, sit for 5 minutes. Take a breath.
Can't, Dad. Time is money.
Samuel murmured.
Your father runs so fast to catch tomorrow, forgets to live in today.
The next afternoon, while outside the harbor was draped in thick gray fog, Grandpa Samuel showed Toby his prized project, a 19th-century marine chronometer belonging to Captain Harrison.
This mechanism has guided Captain Harrison's fishing schooner through dark waters for 40 years. It doesn't rely on batteries or satellite signals. It relies on balance, harmony, and exact tension.
Can I help you finish it? If we both work on it fast, we can get it done in an hour.
Patience isn't waiting, it is how you behave while you wait. Horology cannot be rushed, Toby. If you push a gear too hard, you bend the pivot. If you tighten a mainspring too fast, it snaps.
Later that afternoon, Samuel stepped into the back room to brew fresh tea. Left alone with the chronometer, Toby looked at the main assembly. He wanted to impress his grandfather by showing how fast he could assemble the escapement wheel. It's just a simple alignment, Toby whispered to himself. He picked up the fine tweezers and forced the balance wheel into its socket, pressing down firmly to skip the slow micro-adjustments Samuel had demonstrated. A sickening click echoed through the quiet room. Toby's stomach dropped. The tiny pivot pin at the center of the balance staff had broken off. The balance wheel now sat loose and useless inside the housing. Just then, the shop door chimed. Captain Harrison stepped inside, shaking rain off his heavy oilskin coat. Behind him came David, looking exhausted and stressed from his harbor meetings.
Samuel! The weather reports say a sudden gale is rolling in from the north tonight. Rots from the north tonight. I need to take the vessel out to lead the inner bay fleet into safe harbor before the storm hits. Is my chronometer ready?
Samuel stepped out from the back, his eyes catching Toby's pale, trembling face beside the workbench. Samuel walked over to the workbench. He looked down at the broken balance staff, then looked at Toby.
Grandpa, I tried to speed it up. I thought I could finish it quickly for you. I'm sorry. I broke it.
What did I tell you? I told you not to touch anything. Do you know how much that mistake costs? Captain, I'll pay for the damage immediately.
Quiet, David. Harrison, the balance staff is broken. I cannot give you a chronometer. Without it, you cannot accurately calculate your position in the thick fog off the shoals. The fog is already thick as wool out there. Digital GPS signals are notoriously unreliable near the iron ore cliffs by the point. Without a true timekeeper to calculate dead reckoning, leading the fleet through the Narrows tonight will be extremely dangerous.
Dad, crafting a balance staff from raw steel wire by hand takes half a day. You don't have 3 hours. Toby, you broke the rhythm. Toby, grab a leather apron.
Then I will not waste a single second worrying about the clock. Now you will help me find it again.
For the next 2 hours, the workshop became a sanctuary of absolute focus.
Watch closely, Toby. When you make a precision part by hand, if your mind is thinking about the end of the hour, your hand will slip. You must focus entirely on the fraction of a millimeter in front of you right now.
Toby stood beside his grandfather, holding a magnifying glass steady over the lathe. Instead of constantly checking his phone or counting down the minutes, Toby forced himself to breathe deeply. He paid attention to the fine metallic shavings curling off the steel rod. Beside them, David sat on a stool, watching silently. For the first time in months, David didn't look at his phone. He watched his old father's steady, unhurried hands working with incredible grace under immense time pressure.
Dad, how are you not panicking? The captain's ship is waiting. The storm is coming.
Panic is the thief of accuracy, David. Rushing creates mistakes. Calmness creates precision. When time is short, you must move slower, not faster.
Toby felt the truth of those words sink deep into his chest. He stopped fidgeting. He kept the magnifying lens perfectly still, adjusting the oil light so his grandfather could see the microscopic steel pivot take shape. At precisely 6:45 p.m., Samuel placed the newly turned steel staff into the jewel bearings of the chronometer. He attached the delicate hairspring and gently gave the balance wheel a flick. Tick 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 tick. A steady, flawless, musical rhythm filled the room. The chronometer had returned to life. Captain Harrison took the recalibrated chronometer in its wooden box just as fog sirens began blaring across Oak Haven Harbor. They walked up to the old stone lighthouse overlook above the harbor.
She's running true, Samuel. You saved more than just a ship tonight.
Dad, can we go to the harbor lookout? I want to see this.
Below them, thick white fog rolled over the black ocean waves like a heavy blanket. Wind whipped rain across their faces. Through the dense gloom, they could see the faint running lights of 3 small fishing boats trapped near the dangerous iron ore reefs, unable to find the narrow channel. Suddenly, the horn of Captain Harrison's lead schooner blasted through the fog. Guided by his precise dead reckoning calculations, powered by Samuel's restored chronometer, Harrison's vessel moved with absolute confidence through the dark, cutting perfectly through the safe channel, leading the lost fishing boat safely into the calm waters of the bay. David stood at the railing, watching the rescue unfold. He looked down at his smartwatch, which was flashing 3 unread email alerts and 2 missed calls. Slowly, deliberately, David pressed the side button, turned off his phone, and slipped it into his pocket. He took a long, deep breath of the fresh, salty night air.
I haven't looked at the ocean in 5 years. I was always checking my schedule.
It's nice out here, Dad. When you stop rushing, you can actually hear things.
On their last day in Oakhaven, Toby sat at the workbench in Grandpa Samuel's shop. On the table before him sat an old, brass pocket watch that Samuel had given him to restore. Toby held a loop to his eye, using tweezers to carefully place a small gear into place. David sat in the oak armchair nearby, quietly reading a physical book, a calm smile on his face. His phone remained muted inside his bag.
How does it feel, Toby?
Toby tightened the final top bridge screw and set the pocket watch down. The seconds hand began to sweep smoothly across the porcelain dial. Tick, tick, tick.
It feels like I have all the time in the world, Grandpa.
Time isn't a race to be won, my boys. It is a gift to be lived. When you rush through the seconds, you miss the beauty of the hours. Master your mind. Take your time. And the world will always move in harmony with you. This is the end of the story. Tell me now, what do you learn from it? And tell me in the comment box.